Okay, so we can also take a look at ptable to see what this would look like. So ptable.com. So for here, you want to make sure you're under, actually you want to be under the electrons tab. So this is going to be a little bit more complex because this is going to show you probably more information than we need right now at the moment. But I'll show you how to read this. So when you look at an element, you're going to notice here they have something called oxidation states. So oxidation states can be helpful to know the charge of an electron, of an element, I should say. Now, you want to be careful. The oxidation states are not going to make a whole lot of sense for a lot of these, okay? So when it comes time for knowing the charges, you want to go back to understanding the group that that element is in and how many valence electrons it has. But for the transition metals, so these middle ones, if you were to click on these ones in the center, you're going to notice that there are going to be maybe one or two that are bolded. So the bold numbers are the most common charges for those transition metals. So I'm talking about these ones here that are in this center block, right? So for example, right, cobalt is 2 and 3. Copper is 2, but actually 1 is also a possibility. So you want to be careful. I don't know if this P table is the greatest one for the charges, because it's not showing you really the information that's correct. It's obviously is correct, but it's not really showing you the information that would be really good for the grade 11 level. So I feel like this might be a little bit too far beyond what you would need. So I would stick to either the one in the period in your textbook or the one that we have in the reference tables. Okay, so multivalent metals, right? You have to make sure you're using the correct one when you're doing the crisscross rule. So how are you going to know which one you're using? Well, usually the name will tell you which one it is, right? So if you remember, the Roman numeral will indicate which ones you're using for the crisscross. So copper 2 chloride would tell you you're using the positive 2 charge, right? If it was copper 1, it would have a Roman numeral of 1. Okay, so it's kind of nice when you're doing crisscross with multivalents, like transition metals, you automatically know which one that they're discussing because it literally has it in the question. Now, how are you going to know the opposites, like the reverse crisscross? So you have to look to see, well, what is the number that has been crossed down? So you do the reverse crisscross. So just to review Roman numerals, right? 1 is just a line. 2 is 2 lines. 3 is 3 lines. 5 is a V. And 4 is a line and a V. So it's like the 1 before 5. Okay. I don't believe you'll need to know more than 5, but if you do, 6 is a 1 line after the 5, and 7 is 2 lines after the 5. Okay, so here we have iron, and there is a 3 that has crossed down. So this is iron 3 oxide. So the rule with the non-metal changing to IDE at the end is still correct. Okay, now you want to be careful. When you're looking at a molecule, sometimes you're going to want to say that the charge is 1. So see how it says gold and phosphorus and there are no subscripts? You're going to want to naturally say, oh, this is gold number 1 because there's no number here. But you have to remember that this could be the reduced version of this value. Because remember, ionic compounds, you always reduce to the lowest subscripts. Now, phosphorus has a charge of -3. So that must mean if there's no number beside the gold, it had to have been +3. So this is gold 3 phosphide. Okay, try the next two out. So we have tin and we have nickel here. Pause the video and give it a try. Okay, so I'm just gonna erase some of this here so we can have some space to work with. So when you're looking at this, let's continue. So here we have tin and chlorine. So chlorine is a -1, so the tin is the 4. So this is tin 4 chloride, right? Nickel and oxygen, so there's no numbers here, but if you know oxygen has to gain 2 electrons, it's -2. Nickel is +2, so this is nickel 2 oxide, okay? So it's important to know that when you're dealing with one of these transition metals, you must put the Roman numeral, okay? So you can't just put nickel oxide, it must say nickel 2 oxide. Okay, so again, crisscross rule, this should actually be pretty straightforward because the number that's in Roman numerals will tell you what the charge is for each of those metal ions. So actually, you can go ahead and pause the video and give these a try. Remember, you want the lowest possible subscripts as well. Okay, so you should have here tin. So tin and oxide. So if this is +2 and -2, they end up canceling each other out with just 1 and 1. So you just should have S and O. Iron and sulfide. Because it's iron 3, so the 2 from sulfur comes down. Iron is a 3 where the sulfur is now. Lead, nitride. So lead 2 nitride. The 2 from lead comes down near the nitrogen. The 3 from nitrogen comes down near the lead. Iron 2 fluoride. This is where you're going to have FeF2. So the 2 from iron comes down, and fluorine, of course, is a 1. So the next thing we're going to review is polyatomic ions. So polyatomic ions, just to refresh your memory, it's when you have a cluster or a group of atoms that stick together, right? They stay together and they have an overall charge. So these are just some of them, probably the 4 most common ones. You have many more on your data sheets. So this is found in the course information file, also in your textbook. So just to show you what the data sheet looks like. Okay, it looks like this. We looked at this the very, very first day of school. Okay, but now we're going to start using it. So the data sheet, whoop, oh my goodness. Okay, I zoomed in like a ton. And it's blue now. Okay, but anyways, go with me. So the data sheet that's there, so this is the chart that I'm referring to. Okay, so common, now I zoomed in again. Common polyatomic ions. So when you're doing your test or quiz or anything like this, if we did have an exam this year, you would have this with you. So you don't have to memorize the polyatomic ions, you have the chart here. Okay, so make sure that you have this handy, especially while you're doing your questions for this. Okay, so here are some examples. We have nitrate, which is NO3 -1. So that means this entire little cluster of 1 nitrogen and 3 oxygens has a -1 charge, right? Chlorate, ClO3, -1. Carbonate, ooh, there should actually be a 3 here. It's CO3, -2, has a charge of -2. Sulfate, SO4, -2. Now, when you're working with these in a compound, they actually are done in the same way as doing ionic compounds, right? Ionic compounds. So meaning you still have to use the crisscross rule when you're writing out the formulas. So before we get into doing crisscross, there are going to be some variations to the polyatomic ions. So this is new from what you've probably covered in grade 10. So Polyatomic ions usually have a base name that ends in 8, most of them. Carbonate, nitrate, sulfate, phosphate. But we can have variations of those polyatomic ions, and actually what can change is the number of oxygens. So the best way to learn this is through example. So carbonate is the base name, and this is the one that you'll find on the chart, right? So the base name is always given on the polyatomic ion chart on your data sheet. But we can have different types of carbonate. So for example, instead of 3 oxygens, you can have 1 more oxygen. So what that means is we add the prefix per, and you can see here I underlined what's different about it. So what that means is instead of CO3, it's going to be CO4. But the charge actually never changes. Okay, the charge does not change. Okay, so here, 1 more carbon. So what we're talking about here is in comparison to the base name. So if there's 1 more oxygen from the original base, you add per. If there is 1 less oxygen, what happens is the ending is going to change. Instead of carbonate, it becomes carbonite. You can see that change right here. So instead of CO3, it's 1 less oxygen, so it would be CO2. Remember, the charge doesn't change. If you have 2 less oxygen, what that means is you're actually going to have a prefix and a suffix change. So your prefix is going to be hypo, your ending is still going to be ite. So instead of CO3, it's 2 less oxygen, so it would be CO -2. Okay, so pause the video, give this a try. I want you to try all the variations that exist for sulfate. So here's the base for sulfate, SO4 -2, and chlorate is ClO3 -1. Okay, so give that a try. So do the drawing, like the formula, and write what the name would be for it. Okay, so for sulfite, we can have per sulfate. So that would be SO5 -2, right? 1 more oxygen. We can have sulfite, which is SO3 -2, or we can have hyposulfite, which would be SO2 -2. Okay, I'm going to do chlorate over here. So chlorate, so we can have perchlorate, which would be ClO4 -1. We can have chlorite with the ITE, which would be ClO2. We can have I'm just going to put it down here, hypochlorite, which would be ClO -1. Okay, so you never have to memorize the base, right? You'll have the base given to you, but you need to know what is the changes that can happen to that polyatomic ion with the different variants.